Stop buying new audio equipment to fix your problems. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasello with Audioholics. So I want to talk to you guys. I want to have a serious talk about you stop throwing money away on new equipment thinking it's going to fix all your audio problems. You know, I've been doing this consultation thing on the side for our fans for about 3 or 4 years now, and I've probably given, I'm guessing, 300 to 400 consults since I started this. People coming to me, they pay the hourly rate, and I go over their systems with them. Most of the time, they just want advice on equipment purchases, but a lot of times they're just not happy with the sound of their system, and they go out and they buy more equipment, or they upgrade their receiver, or they upgrade their amplifier, they upgrade their cables, they upgrade all the things that really don't always necessarily translate to better sound without first understanding what the problem is in their setups or their rooms. Now, I'm not going to show you examples. I don't want to shame anybody. I just want to give you some anecdotes of things I've heard in the past. So I most recently gave a consultation to someone who wasn't happy with the sound of their system. They went out and they bought an Anthem AVM 90, which is an awesome processor. Overkill for their needs. They're in a relatively small but open space. They had like a family room that opens to a kitchen, and the wife wouldn't let them put any acoustic treatments at all in the room. And the room was loaded with glass windows, a big slider on one side, asymmetry. One side had a sidewall, the other side was open to a kitchen. And they were really stuck on what they could do. The seating location wasn't optimal. So what they would do is this person would bring his speakers out into the room anytime he would listen to kind of try to mitigate the acoustic problems in the room by bringing you closer to the near field of the speaker. And he had to do a lot of shuffling. He put all of his furniture on sliders. He moved stuff around. Every time he would sit down to listen to music, he would have to do this whole process. I was like, man, this is just really difficult. And his solution was, I can't fix the room acoustics, but I could change my equipment. I could buy a high-end streaming DAC, which should make things sound better. And I'm like, no, that's not going to make any difference at all. When you already have a high quality DAC, like what's in the Anthem AVM 90 or a Marantz AV10 or a Storm or a Trinoff processor, no magical streaming DAC is going to make things sound better. You already have state-of-the-art DAC. If you're using especially the digital outputs on any of these streaming DACs, it doesn't matter. So you don't need to go and drop all this kind of money unless you want the functionality, you want the interface, you want, you know, Rune, or you want Bluos, or you want something like a music management system. You're not going to get better sound by doing that. And I always hate to see people throwing more money at problems, at their acoustic problems, without actually fixing the acoustics. So this room was really bad. It had a high RT60 decay time, and there wasn't a whole lot I could do for him because he was restricted. And I would just urge you guys, before you go out and you buy new speakers or you buy new amplifiers or electronics, think about the room that you're sitting in, think about the room that you're setting up and you're listening in, and make sure you have some of the basics right. And I'm just going to show you some pictures from my theater room, and I'm not trying to like show off. I'm just trying to show you what the advantages are on having a dedicated listening space if you can make that happen. So just some modern pictures here. I just installed the Severson screen, an acoustically transparent screen to my front stage, and I'm going to be doing a video on that as well. And you can see I've got some acoustic treatments behind there. Behind that screen, I actually have acoustic treatments as well. But the big thing about getting good sound in a listening space is symmetry. And you look at the left speaker and you look at the right speaker, and you can see my sidewalls are equidistant from my main speakers. I have very similar acoustic treatments on both walls. And I'm not necessarily saying you have to turn your room into a lab like I did in my theater room, but it really is important to have symmetry. If you want to have precise stereo imaging, you need to have sidewalls. You need to have the same distance from the left speaker to the left wall as the right speaker to the right wall. And you really want to stay equidistant to those speakers at the main listening position if you can. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people just have these high-end theaters that they call me up and they want a consult, but they calibrate everything to a far left wall. is where they're sitting. They're not even sitting in the main listening area. They're not sitting dead center. There's so many problems with not sitting dead center, especially if you're the one that's primarily using that listening space. Sitting off to the side, you're going to be imbalanced in sound, but also you're not going to have a good picture experience because you're far off of access to the display device. And also you're close to maybe a surround speaker, so you're going to be distracted by that speaker as well. So really it depends. You really need to have good seating position. And you can see in my theater room, again, I've got 2 rows of seats. I have a front row and a back row. Now, I don't like the back row very much at all. And the big problem with my back row is it's only about 3 or 4 feet off of that wall. So it's in a maximum pressure area. So the bass builds up too much and it's just not as even as it is in the front row. And also the back row gets you further away from the front sound stage, and it's pretty close to those back channels, which are, you could see right kind of in the corner there. There's 2 in-wall back channels. So you're close to those speakers. You're not in the optimal coverage area from the height channels in the ceiling. The front row is really the best experience. And in fact, in my theater, even though there's 7 chairs, I would say 3 of those chairs are excellent performance. 1 of those chairs is okay performance, and 2 of those chairs are mother-in-law seats in the back. And I just would not recommend sitting there. And the reason why I bring that up is there's so many times where people are setting up a space and they put their couch up against the back wall or up against the side wall. Those are not good for acoustic loading, how you're listening to your system in your room. And you're just it's gonna be a detriment to your listening experience. So again, before you start throwing money at new equipment, especially cables, I can't tell you how many times I've had people say, well, what if I get this silver cable? Well, that's not gonna make a lick of difference. Just moving your head at ½ an inch is gonna make far more difference in what you're gonna hear than any exotic cable. Just the acoustics of your room and how the speaker plays into the room and how you perceive that sound is more critical than any of these tweaks that you're going to do. Get your seating position right. Get your speaker layout right. Get your room acoustics right. If you can have a dedicated space for doing your listening as opposed to a room that's open to other rooms, you're going to be a lot happier and you're going to get much better results. You're going to enjoy that equipment even more. And anytime I give a consultation to people, that's the first thing I ask them is, what's your room like? What is the purpose of the room? Is it a dedicated listening space or is it a multimedia room? Do you listen to music more or do you listen mostly to home theater? Do you watch movies more? So really, that's how I design systems for people. You got to know the habitat that they're listening in as well as their listening habits and what they expect out of that system. And of course, you want to have good, even bass in every seat. So you need at least 2 subwoofers to do that. Of course, 4 subwoofers is even better if you could fit it. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Give me some comments down below. Did you fall into this pit where you thought just upgrading an amplifier or upgrading a processor was going to fix all of your woes, not realizing that you just had some obvious things that could be fixed, like your position of your speakers or your position of your seats or improving your room acoustics, stuff like that, that really makes a difference. I'll put a link down below to the consultation service that I offer. I don't normally advertise it just because I get so backlogged. So if you do click on the link and you purchase an hour with me, just realize it might be 3 or 4 weeks before I can get to it. But I promise you, I will get to you and I'll do my best to try to help you guys out. Because at the end of the day, we want to elevate everybody's listening experience. We want to get your setup right. We want to make sure that you're doing a proper calibration. And we want to make sure that you have good seating position. People often forget about how important it is to have good seating position. So guys, if you like this video, please hit the thumb up, hit subscribe. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to me if you want to suggest video topics. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.